the moment our fellow geeks, dweebs, nerds, and other unfortunates have been fervently waiting for has finally arrived. It's time for TMI, Confessionals of the Nerd Kind. And now, your hosts, Jeff Nerf Herder Chandler and Jim Kaiju Baker. And now, let's get on with the show. Here is TMI.
Let's do it. Is this episode 80? Okay.
We are in a new decade here at TMI.
Wow, this is a whole new...
This is actually our sweet spot, the dawn of the 80s, right?
Here we go. Yeah, sure.
This is when
actually, I think our classic feature was from 88.
Yes, it was. 88.
Toward the end of that.
Yeah,
Yes.
The end of the 80s was kind of the dregs of the 80s.
Well, because we were spoiled. We were spoiled at the top of the 80s.
I think, and we've discussed this before, that in my opinion, each year, going from Star Wars, late 70s, through the early 80s, every year had a major release, big blockbuster movie that will go down in the annals of time as representative of that year.
So let's backtrack a little bit and welcome everybody who's listening to this show.
Did we even start the show today?
We don't really have any news. Let's talk about what's our main feature, though.
Our main feature?
What are we talking about this week?
We're talking Gemini Man.
Gemini Man. This is not the 76 TV show.
Was there a TV show called Gemini Man?
I believe there was a very short-lived television show in the 70s. This is not that.
Was it split personality?
I don't
twin
remember.
brothers?
I don't even remember what the spoiler.
This movie was spoiled before it even came out. And
yes, correct. And we definitely need to talk about the theater experience because I had one doozy of an experience while watching this movie.
But before we do that,
we're one man down. This may be our news.
Yeah, we have been.
But it's now official. Mike is officially off the team.
Yes. So this show has now been pared down to a duo,
which, as you said, has been for the last 5 weeks. But we were hoping that Mike would find the time to come back.
We started at 5.
Yeah.
Pared down to 3, and now we are at 2.
Now we're at 2.
You can look at it this way, that even since the beginning, when we were 5, it was you and I that were probably the most enthusiastic about this whole venture. So
yes, yeah.
I think this is a natural progression. I think that it was always destined to boil down to the two of us, and here we are.
Well, listen, I mean, the one episode you did straight up with Mike. No, you did 2 episodes. I actually enjoyed that.
Yeah, he will be missed because he was not every show, but he was often the curmudgeonly figure.
Well, I was going to say he was very unpredictable because I think you and I both wear our nerdism on our sleeves. Nerd! Mike kind of shelters his away, and only when you really start kind of pulling back the layers did he kind of reveal some of his feelings. And just in some of the movies we chose, he was very vocal in his disgust. The hell you guys are making me watch now.
He definitely did not toe the line, and I think that we did need that on occasion to maybe double think the choices that we were making. But
yes, the big one being the fact that he absolutely refused to watch The Incredible Mr. Limpet, just flat out. I'm not watching it. That's what he said. And I got to give him props for it. Whatever.
So there you have it. That was our big news.
That is our news. We're in talks. We might have a guest every once in a while show up. It's always nice to have a third voice. The only other news item I really want to get into is kind of jumping back to last week's episode where we talked about the Joker. This is not really going away. If anything, the online vitriol of backlash is just getting louder, and this is really polarizing. People are either loving it and defending it or hating it and defending it, and there doesn't seem to be any in between. Like, you don't want to hear the other side, so you just want to hear what you want to hear. But it's crazy. I mean people are like fighting that apparently if you like this, you're somehow condoning the main protagonist's actions, which is not the case at all. Like you can like it and understand it and respect it for its cinematic merits. Some of these headlines, irresponsible propaganda. This is my favorite from GQ. Joker is a movie for people who want to blame someone else. I mean, it's I don't know. I think at this point you should still go see it. Make up your own mind. Don't listen to somebody on Facebook and just be like, well, that guy didn't like it, I'm not going to watch it. It is dark. It's disturbing. And here's the other thing, too, is I guess people were complaining. There's a lot of headlines about people getting up and walking out of the theater, which, fine. That's happened to me once. I'll never walk out of the theater, but I was with a group of friends when we went to go see Fargo, and they just didn't get it and got up and walked out. And I'm like, well, enjoy your hour and a half walking around the mall because I'm not leaving. But it's like if you read a book and it's disturbing, you close the cover. You put it down. If you're watching a TV show and you don't like it, you turn the channel. But if you're in a movie theater, the act of getting up and walking out is a very public statement, right? And especially if you're going to walk out going, this movie sucks. So now you're making a scene. I don't quite get it, but it's still out there, and it's just go see it.
I can understand where some of these critiques are coming from. Before the movie came out, we talked about this a little bit, but the families
Right.
of the surviving
Aurora,
families
yeah.
of those in the massacre at the Aurora, Colorado theater were upset with Warner Brothers for seemingly condoning such violence in what they saw as making the protagonist of this movie, making his actions justified. So what most people are having issues with is the movie taking a sympathetic stance with this character. But again, last week we said we were putting all that aside and just viewing it as movie fans, and
Right.
that's what we did. And it's a well-made, well-acted movie.
Right,
this.
but don't tell me that because I like this movie or that I tell you to go watch it just to make your own opinion, that somehow I'm
You're
condoning this
the
character's
actions of the
actions.
character.
That's still, there's 6 people that are killed in that movie. How many people died in Gemini Man?
Yeah.
You lose count in the body count.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to talk about this movie, and people are just getting shot left and right.
Yeah, and
I
this
mean,
guy's
they're-
job
Right,
is
he's
to
a hitman.
unemotionally kill people.
Right. And now it's come back to haunt him. 72 kills, I think he makes mention of. So, again, my movie-going experience was, for Gemini Man, was unique. And at one point, there was a discussion had by people around me about the Joker. And this woman who had 2 young kids was questioning because they love superhero movies. Do I take them? Hell no. Don't. No, it's not a kid movie. It's not meant for the comic book genre kids. But the gentleman to my right, older gentleman, immediately said, yeah, I heard there's like mass killings. And I'm like, that's not true at all. So he's reading some article who probably somebody trashed this, and he's just, spewing it back out. And I'm like, I saw the movie last week. 6 people are killed. Yeah, it's horrific and it's unconscionable, but it's 6 people. Don't tell me it was like some mass, slaughtering going on, because that's not true.
Yeah.
So there you go. I'm off my soapbox.
It's not just that, kids, this isn't the type of subject matter for them. I just think they would be bored in Joker. This is, it's a drama.
That's some of the, it's like some of these reviews are kind of going back and like, this is horrible, but not because it's because of his actions, because it's just boring.
Oh, and that's not true. If you're 6 or 7 years old, yeah, you're not going to want to sit through this.
Right. Take him to go see Zorro the Gay Blade.
Yeah. Apparently that's very popular in Gotham.
Oh man. Now we're going to have to review that.
Oh. Have you ever seen that?
No, I can honestly say that I'm pretty sure when it showed up on HBO, I was like, I'm not.
I think I probably have seen it, but I've just blocked it from my memory.
Yeah, I can't say I saw it. So I'm sorry. I didn't really want to kind of like regurgitate this crap, but it's something that I've been seeing a lot of. And this is, out of all the movies that we've talked about over the last year and a half, this one is the one where everyone's coming up to me and asking me, was it good? Did you like it? Go see it for yourself. Sorry, rant ended.
I saw Gemini Man last night on a Saturday on its opening weekend, and there was probably 30 people in the theater, 35 people at most, and teams of people still going into the Joker. So people are going out and seeing it. They're not boycotting it.
That's good.
By any means. Yeah.
Right. Police presence still there?
No, because
Right.
it was a different theater, so
Oh,
I
gotcha.
didn't
Okay.
notice any police presence
Okay.
at all. So, but as you
Interesting.
said, there's a lot of people going to see it and making their own opinions. So,
Yeah, as well you should. I mean,
yeah.
it's art. It's not for everyone.
And
Do I go to the
thankfully-
MoMA and look at someone's painting and then go online and be like, don't go here, that painting sucks? That's horrible. Whatever.
And whatever fears people had, there's going to be violence at every single one of these screenings, and that's why there was police presence. But I haven't heard of one instance,
no.
thankfully. So,
Except for angry people who wanted their tickets back.
And I think Jared Leto is among those.
Yeah.
He apparently lost his mind after seeing this movie. So sorry, Jared. I know that you didn't get your screen time. Apparently there is a whole movie worth of outtakes from the original Suicide Squad. And Joker only made it into about, 10 minutes of that movie?
I was going to say he's very underused.
Yeah.
In this. Now, do you think that he'll make no, he probably won't in this Birds of Prey.
Because he said in one of the many articles I saw over the weekend, apparently that they were planning on making a solo movie with him. It was going into pre-production in 2018. Gotcha. It was all set to go, and now that's off the table.
Right.
So,
how many Joker movies do we need?
I know.
But I get it.
You would think that with the Harlequin, like Birds of Prey, that he's going to have to feature somehow. Well,
and if you saw the trailer, she makes Harley Quinn does make a mention of the fact that they broke up. So you can dismiss him in one sentence. Bye-bye, Mr. J.
Yeah, I don't think the Joaquin version of the Joker is really her type. So
no,
maybe it's not meant to be.
Yeah, I hope not. So
getting into our main feature this week. Now, Jeff, you had issues at your theater with Gemini Man.
I had one. So go back to what we were just speaking of, which was the fact that, there are days we all work. We have a limited free time. My theater was only showing 3 screenings of this up till 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock was my window. Race to the movie theater. Now on my Regal app, I now am an unlimited member. I now have unlimited access to, and they use a face. You have to put a photo next to the QR code, so you can't just cheat it. So this is not a commercial for Regal, by the way. Unless they want to sponsor us, and then by all means, I'll talk about it ad nauseum. So it's just it's like a credit card, but you flip it over and there's a QR code. But now the QR code is much smaller next to my face, and it has all my information, my email address, my phone number. And they just scan the phone. The problem is that for whatever reason, the computer would not recognize the QR code. So my unlimited was immediately crippled, and they were forced only by 3 people. Now, my theater didn't even have somebody in the ticket booth. You either buy your tickets at the kiosk or you buy them at the concession stand. So now I got these knuckleheads that usually make me popcorn are trying to scan this card. 3 people had to get involved to scan this thing. Finally, they just plugged in my phone number. So fine, whatever. And guess what? For my birthday, I got a free popcorn, small popcorn. Give me my free popcorn. That was an issue. Finally got that. Movie starts at 8. I walk in. Oh, yeah, by the way, my ticket says 8:15. 8:15. All right, cool. I got plenty of time. All right, sir, auditorium 6. So I stroll to all the way down the end. I stroll in. What's on? The last 10 minutes of Ad Astra. And it doesn't hold up any better the second go around. It's just, staring at Brad Pitt's face. So I walk in and there's people in there. And I don't want to be that guy that comes in the last 10 minutes of a movie because you're invested. And then sit down. So I'm standing in the hallway, kind of off to the side. I'm eating my popcorn. And all of a sudden this woman comes around the corner and she goes, "Are you here for Gemini Man too?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "Yeah, why is this movie still playing?" I said, because they said 8:15, but it says 8 o'clock online. I know 8:15, whatever. It's a 15-minute difference. Come to find out, everyone in the theater was there for Gemini Man. So I sit down. The credits rolled. Credits end. Screen. It's black screen. Now it's like 8:12. Usually you get previews. Usually you get Nuvi. So whatever. Nothing. So I'm sitting there. I got my sweet spot. A couple more people come in. 8:20. Lady walks in. I have good news and bad news. Bad news is that we're having projector issues. We have to re-download the movie. This is the new world we live in, which is, just like we have to reboot the computer every now and again. Apparently, this is not downloaded to their computer system. You have to stream it. I don't know. If you want to choose another movie, you're more than welcome to. If you want to hang out, it should be no more than 20 minutes. And if you want to skip the previews, that'll save us another 20 minutes and you'll still get out of the theater at the same time as if we had started at 8:15. I stayed. I'm committed.
Yep.
It's the only showing that day, 8 o'clock. I'm in. Older couple got up and walked out. So we're sitting there. Next thing you know, one of these little kids gets up and he starts telling jokes. He's now in front of about 15, 20 of us telling off-color Trump jokes, which was just, I'm like, you can't make this stuff up. So this is where the Joker conversation came in. 8:40, the lady walks in and she's now handing out free fruit snacks. We're really sorry, in a couple more minutes, we're hoping by 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock. So now I'm sitting in the theater for almost a solid hour.
Was she handing out the fruit snacks with a t-shirt gun and just blasting it?
No, that would have been brilliant though. No, she was literally going row to row. And the couple behind me, there were kids. And they're like, no, thanks. And I turned to them. I said, you always take free food. Are you kidding me? Take it. So they reluctantly took some fruit snack. I said, I'm now eating like a 4-year-old. Fruit snacks. 9 o'clock, the movie starts. Previews come on. What the? Oh my God. Okay, so they start skipping through the previews. So you get like just a snippet. So I saw no previews. The movie starts 9:10. It's in 3D. I'm like losing my mind now. And I'm like, are you kidding? So like 5 of us all got up and charged out. And again, this is the farthest theater from the main lobby. We went all the way down. The guy in front of me is like, we've been waiting forever. It's in 3D. So now they got the poor kids on the walkie-talkies and he's trying to talk to the projection booth. You need to flip it over. It's in 3D. It's a 2D screening. Apparently you can't do that. So
they had to re-download the entire 2D screen?
What happened was, just as a precaution, we all grabbed like glasses, went back to the theater and started handing them out. And it was 3D. It was 3D through the whole thing. They never changed it. They never stopped the movie. And I will tell you, it was the greatest 3D I have ever seen in my entire life. Dude, this surpassed Avatar.
Really?
It is unbelievable. He filmed this, and the one thing I keep reading about is that he filmed it in this real 3D, real D or whatever it is, and we'll get into these action sequences were so immersive, it was unbelievable. Like, I was just like, this is the greatest accident. I went on to Regal's their Facebook page, and I've been chatting back and forth with a Regal representative, and they're like, oh, we're really sorry about your experience, but sometimes something good happens, because I never would have paid for a 3D screening. I never would have cared to see a 3D screening, but he went out of his way to film this in 3D, and it completely changed the way I saw this movie. Yeah. So as I said to you, when you said last night that you were seeing a standard, I was this close to texting, we are going to have such a different experience. But I said, I'm not even going to taint it. I'm going to wait until we start recording. The 3D is unbelievable because he filmed at 120 frames per second. So your standard film is 24 frames per second. Mm-hmm. The action sequences are so clean and so crisp. And now I'll tie it in with this whole CG where you got the younger Will Smith kind of a thing going on. We'll get into the story, but this experience like blew me away. I
don't know if this could be construed as a negative or a positive for Regal.
It was a negative that led into a solid positive because, Ang Lee is he's been cutting edge. I mean, you look at Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and even Life of Pi. He filmed Life of Pi in 3D
going into this movie, Gemini Man, I did not realize that he directed it until the final credit. Okay. It was just like my jaw dropped. Ang Lee? Really?
And it's not. He's got moments. We'll lay it out there. It's not a great movie. The dialogue's horrible. The plot is, exactly what you're getting in for.
Yeah,
and you even alluded to the twist. You even alluded to the twist because I saw that coming a mile away. And again, I was going to throw that out there as a text, and I'm like, I'm not going to change in any way, shape, or form. But watching it in 3D completely changed my opinion.
I'm very glad that happened as well, because usually I don't care one way or the other if I see it in 3D. If the screening that I arrive at happens to be a 3D, then fine, I'll go and see that. But it just, the roll of the dice, the 7 o'clock movie that I went to was not 3D, so I didn't watch it in 3D.
Right. But I mean, go back when 3D was like, a couple years ago. My television downstairs is a 3D television. I don't even think you can buy a 3D Blu-ray.
Yeah, no,
anymore.
I don't think you can.
No. If it was filmed in 3D, so like what was it? The Hobbit, the second one, the Hobbits he filmed with that 3D red system.
Yes.
If it's filmed in 3D, the director is taking it into account, your experience. If they're just post production taking these movies and converting them to 3D, I mean, there's some really hit or miss effects that are just, they're horrible. It wasn't meant to be seen like that. It's not shot. It's not framed like that. So I really don't care to see it like that. But the fact that he filmed this with a 3D camera makes all the difference.
Right. And usually when you do see a 2D version of a movie that is also available in 3D, there are some novelty shots where you can tell, oh, they just put this in for the 3D. And I only noticed one in the whole of Gemini Man where a drone comes up and, and right in front of the camera. I'm like, oh, that probably would look pretty good in 3D. But the rest of it wasn't that apparent to me watching it in standard. So it must be more of an immersive, as you were saying.
It is very immersive. And then the one thing I will say, which is, you know, again, going back when you know, the high def, the 1080 televisions first came out, you had that option of, I guess, motion smoothing. You had that ability. And it just takes on this very artificial, like hyper styled soap opera effect because it just looks fake. And I hated it and I always turned it off and I never liked it. But this is a game changer. That fight sequence, that chase sequence, when he first encounters Junior and they're racing through the streets on motorcycles, to me, it was like a Disney ride. I mean, I'm there on the back seat of this bike. I mean, he's zooming through the streets, the explosions. I mean, it just was crazy. So yeah, it's the underwater shots. There's a couple underwater scenes as well. Like they're just like little flashbacks or whatever, but they were very impressive as well. So yeah, for me,
I'm sorry that I didn't see it now in 3D.
Yeah,
it's too bad.
Like I said, it's mind-boggling, really. It really was, and I don't want to you know, my entire criticism of this movie is based on a technical issue, but it elevated it for me. I mean, Avatar, you knew it's a cartoon. Avatar is a cartoon. They're all make-believe characters to begin with. And there are scenes where, you know, they're just hanging out in a boat or whatever. And the 3D is not as in your face, but the action sequences are really, really impressive.
I just wanted to bring this up as an aside because I did not mention this. And you just reminded me of this in our Ad Astra review. Now, you just said you had to sit through again the last 10 minutes of Ad Astra. When we saw Ad Astra a couple weeks ago now, the movie started, I forget what production company does it. The logos come up and then the screen goes to black before you get into that shot with Brad Pitt on the giant antenna that's 7 miles off the face of the earth. The screen goes to black after the credits and remained black for about 30 seconds. And nobody in the theater is saying anything. They're thinking, oh, it's an art film. It's just, you know, we're getting into the atmosphere. Another minute goes by. It's still black, silent. The theater is still dark. We've already seen the credits. This has to be part of the movie, right?
Right.
After 5 minutes, somebody says, I think something's wrong.
To realize that the movie had just stopped. So
somebody, you know, got up and left, and then the usher comes in and he's got his walkie-talkie. Oh, yeah, the movie's not working here in 16. Can you? So it was a projection problem. That luckily, it only took about 10 minutes, and they got it to restart again. But it reminded me, this is very embarrassing. Do you remember the movie Babel with Brad Pitt and Kate Blanchett?
Yeah. Sure.
And it had about 3 or 4 different storylines. One that was of this American couple abroad, which played by Brad Pitt and Kate Blanchett. And then there was a story in Japan. There was a story in a couple other places. And they were all, and I realized this after the fact, subtitled, besides obviously the American portion. Now, when we saw this on DVD, for some reason, those subtitles did not generate automatically, which you think they would have if they were in the theatrical version.
Right.
So I assumed that was the way that you were supposed to watch it, and that was the point of the movie, because, you know, Tower of Babel, you're not understanding what they're saying. So we didn't even think that there was subtitles. We sat through the foreign parts of this movie trying to work out what was, and we did. We got the gist of it. I'm like, oh, that's brilliant. You know, this is this movie that forces you to think. And then I realized, wait a second.
I could have just hit
towards the end of the movie, I just hit the subtitle button.
Wait a minute. How dare you make me think?
If that were the case, if they had forcibly made the viewer sit there and not know what was going on, I think
Right.
that would have been a statement. I was in awe that they took the chance to do this in this movie. Then I realized that was not the case at all. It was my stupidity that
That's
I
pretty
didn't
funny.
hit the button. So
That's like walking into a foreign film and just
yeah. All right, back to Gemini Man. I'm sorry.
Okay, Gemini Man. So I did kind of jump the gun and we went off on a tangent here, but
so the plot of
yes.
Gemini Man is as simple as you can get. I'm not going to spend very long on this.
No, because there's not much to really dig into.
No, Will Smith is a government assassin, and he's made 72 kills, as we mentioned earlier. And the last of these kills we see in the very opening moments of this movie, and he's assigned to take out this bioterrorist that's on a speeding train. I forget what country he was even in. But he's off in the distance, and he's looking at the train tracks, and he's positioned on this hill overlooking the train tracks. Will Smith sees the train coming. He's got the guy in his sights because he's sitting right by the window, and a little girl comes into his shot. So this is pretty much the catalyst of the whole movie, is that he really questions, okay, what am I doing here? 6 inches off, I'm going to kill this girl and not this guy. So this is all on me. So, of course, at the very last minute, he ends up making the kill before the train goes into a tunnel. A very suspenseful, a very nice opening sequence, I thought, as well. So, but this sets it up that he wants to retire. He no longer wants to do this for a living because his soul is damaged, as he puts it.
Yeah, he's 51? So he's been doing this for quite some time.
Yes. So, and as a young man, he was recruited very early on. So he tries to retire, but of course, anybody that goes to a movie knows that anybody that wants to retire, it never works out the way that you think it's going to work. He finds out that this guy that he killed in the very opening sequence is not a bioterrorist, but just somebody that knows a little bit too much about Gemini, which is a shadow organization within the government run by Clive Owen, playing a character by the name of Varys.
Clay Varys.
So this guy, they gave Will Smith phony information, made him think that this guy was a terrorist, when in actuality, he was just a scientist who knows a little bit too much about the comings and goings of Gemini. So once Will Smith finds this out, he is now targeted himself by Gemini. And who do they send after him but a version, spoiler alert, a version of himself. The film first thinks that it's his son because he's a dead ringer for a young Will Smith. But then we find out that the DNA matches 100%, so it's actually a clone.
Yeah, and they banged that over your head a little too much.
So that is what the Gemini
project is doing.
Yeah. They're making clones.
And that girl, so he's being followed or tracked by this girl who was DIA, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah.
CIA.
And let me point out, she is played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who is great in everything that I've ever seen her in. She was in 13 Cloverfield Lane, was the first thing of note that I remember her being.
You got to bring up. She was Ramona Flowers in Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Yes.
And the minute I made that connection, because she's adorable to look at. She's really cute. I don't buy it for a second that she was some kind of undercover agent.
But no, that fight scene didn't sell you?
Well, that's true. Yeah. I mean, early on, you're right. No, you're right.
She takes down this assassin.
You are correct. Oh. So go to that fight scene because she is now playing the Huntress in the Bird of Prey movie.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yep.
That's great.
So,
she was in a show called Brain Dead that, Jeff, you would absolutely love. It's about bugs from outer space burrowing into Washington politicians and taking over their thoughts. It is a very leftist kind of a show where it's
interesting,
justifying the actions of Republicans, seeing as that they're taken over by aliens from outer space.
Sense.
That's the only way that they could do what they do.
I like it. So her character's name is Danny. And then we also had Benedict Wong, who I really liked. He is the Salah to Will Smith's Indiana Jones.
Yes, absolutely.
As a matter of fact, his name is Henry. And what's his clone's name is? Junior.
Oh,
so there is this
didn't even think of that.
That little kind of.
You know what? That makes sense now because just doing some research about the history of Gemini Man.
I guess it's been around for a while, right?
It has. 1997 was when it first came to light, when they were first interested in making it. A number of actors came and went from this project. Harrison Ford being number one.
Oh, interesting.
So Mel Gibson was considered at some point.
Heard
Clint
Nick
Eastwood was
Cage.
interested.
Yeah.
Arnold was interested at one point.
I think Johnny
Sylvester
Depp turned it
Stallone,
down, though.
and Sean Connery at one point as well.
Sean Connery in 97?
In 97, yes.
That
But
would have been That would have been interesting.
it
Out
would
of
have
all
been.
of those,
You know, imagine the young James Bond Sean Connery against the untouchables.
Well, that's just it.
Sean Connery.
Is that why this lingo for the technology just was not there?
Yeah, it wouldn't have worked though unless that Danny's character, her name was Pussy Galore.
There you go, Octopussy.
Hello, Pusher.
For sure. Tony Scott and Jerry Bruckheimer are both attached to this as well, so they're bombastic in their everything they touch. Yeah.
So let me tell you, I had very little enthusiasm in seeing this movie. I had extremely low expectations going in.
Right.
Almost zero expectations going in. And let me tell you, I was pleasantly surprised.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
Because the dialogue is horrible, and the
It is.
script is really not great. And if you read any of these reviews, they're all blaming it on this David Benioff. That guy's he'll never live down that last season of Game of Thrones. The guy can never do any good because, again, it's been around for almost 20 years.
I'm glad it hasn't been made until now because the technology definitely
would
was
not
not there.
And I'll tell you, we'll get into this. Weta did a fair amount of those de-aging, because that's the one thing I really wanted to dig into is how they made this. And Will Smith played both characters. I mean, they did have an actor on set who was almost like a stand-in for Junior.
He had to act against something, right?
Well, that's the thing, so kind of like Sean Gunn playing Rocket Raccoon. He's on set, but they de-age him. He's got the dots, and we've seen it before. We've seen it with Michael Douglas and Ant-Man. We've seen it with Sam Jackson in Captain Marvel, but this is, unbelievable. The level of detail in his face. And they went back to 6 Degrees of Separation and some of these earlier movies, Bad Boys, to really kind of cull his look from when he was 25, 26 or whatever.
It looked like he was fresh off the Fresh Prince set.
And so, right. He emotes, you see sweat, you see pores. It does fall apart because you do see this character in pretty much dark the entire time, except for the end sequence. And once he's in bright daylight, he looks horrible. But it's, long gone are the days of the split screen, Parent Trap, Haley Mills, filming a scene and you can tell where the seam is that separates them, or even like Back to the Future 3, where Marty hands himself the baby at one point. You know what I'm saying? It's all tricks. These guys are like they're tussling with each other. They're face to face. They're pulling each other's mouth. It was very impressive in that regard.
The close-ups surprisingly hold up. And then we were just talking not too long ago. It hasn't aired yet, but we recorded an episode for Rogue One, and we're talking about the Peter Cushing character,
right,
which was a digitally created character based on old Peter Cushing footage and a death mask that they had from Top Secret.
Yep.
Jeff, not Top Gun, which you did say.
Did I say Top Gun?
You said Top Gun.
Really, Top Secret.
But this is a character that they only give him about 10 minutes, if that, of screen time. This character, Junior,
is full on acting.
Is full on.
And
he holds up under, as you said, for some reason, some sequences it's really sold and it's realistic, and some it's not.
Right.
Like you said, like in the end sequences when he's on that college campus.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Once he's in broad daylight, it just falls apart. So we're not there yet. But I will say that it not only is this 3D a game changer, but just the technology that they used to de-age him. At what point do these guys just be like, so now we can have Harrison Ford.
We don't even need actors anymore. We can just create them. We just need a voiceover.
There is a point where, there is still the fact that they used Will Smith. They didn't use a stand-in. So it's his acting, it's his mannerisms.
And it's his facial structure as well.
Yes, right. And, so his tics and all this other stuff. But yeah, it will get to a point where you theoretically could remake a Humphrey Bogart movie. Because as humans, when we look at somebody and then something's not quite right, it immediately. There's still that little bit of a plastic sheen, but this is far and away superior to anything that we've seen before in this genre of de-aging.
Yeah, the one thing I will say about this that I thought, as we were just saying, that the facial aspects of them realistically de-aging Will Smith, amazing. But a lot of the fight sequences, you could tell that one or both of the characters were completely CG. So it was like watching like a Marvel fight sequence.
Yeah, well, I think that right. At one point, Junior's got this motorcycle and he's swinging it around. I don't know if that's even humanly possible to do that.
Because he's like Superman. Junior is
cool
like doing these
right.
physically impossible things in the beginning.
And like I said, that fight, that chase scene in Cartagena, the colors are so vibrant. The walls are brightly orange and greens, and it's just,
and even the moped that he's on is the bright green.
Yes, yeah. So it was.
So now let's talk about the reveal, because that sequence is the first sequence where the elder Will Smith, who's Henry Brogan, realizes that somebody that looks exactly like him is on his tail. So this is the reveal. This comes probably about a half an hour into the movie.
Right. So we've seen the trailers. They've been hyping this up, so you know who it is. It's not like it's a surprise to us.
The movie treats it as a big reveal, but yet the marketing materials sell this aspect of the movie front and center, even in the poster.
Right.
Now this movie would have been, make no mistake about it, this is a B action movie. This is a guilty pleasure movie.
Yeah.
By no means is this anywhere near the artistic merit of, say, The Joker. This is just something that you are just in for the ride. It's a Bruckheimer.
I think Ang Lee was more into it for the technology than the story, because the storyline is.
If you accept it as a B movie, then you will enjoy it. So I'm not saying that I fault them for marketing the twist of the story right up front, but I think the movie would be much more powerful if you held that back. I'm sure you can make a trailer of what they had without revealing that particular aspect.
But then you run the risk of complete and utter disinterest. Because look at when we talked about Deja Vu, Denzel Washington. I remembered hearing about it, but I had no clue what it was about.
Right.
Because they didn't really sell that point. And it's a cool.
You think maybe it's a guy with amnesia, right?
Right. Yeah. Right. But it's a cool concept.
Yeah.
And maybe if they had told me a little bit more about the movie, I would have wanted to go see it.
But maybe they could have shared the young Will Smith. Maybe give the indication that it is his son that's after him, and held that clone thing. Something that gave you a little surprise, because besides that twist, so you're waiting. Well, maybe they're holding back something else. And no,
they were a little bit, but it was broadcast a mile away. The bad guy, Clive Owens, said point blank, imagine an army of these guys who don't have emotional attachments, or, we're trying to breed out exactly what you're doing. You now have a conscience. You now are questioning, when you were a young soldier, you just did what you were told. Now, all of a sudden, all of this is weighing on you. I need a soldier who doesn't give a shit, who has no emotions, who has no, fear of pain. So it's like, well, why would they just create one? And so sure enough,
so Junior, who is Will Smith's clone, is raised by Clive Owen's character as his son. So this Junior, thinks of him as his father. So
Junior.
It does take Henry's character some convincing. He has some work to do to convince him that his father is in fact evil and has been orchestrating this whole thing.
Yeah, I think really, he just kind of buys it too. He's like pretty quick to be like, that makes sense.
So there's three major fight sequences between the two Smiths throughout this movie. There's the moped chase, which is incredible.
Yes,
which features Will Smith doing something similar to that dance move, the worm. And so he jettisons himself off his stomach, off the pavement,
to
Matrix style in slow motion. What was he avoiding? Was that when the moped
was swinging? He was swinging the tail of the bike around, so
the
bike tire was coming underneath him, and that's where that 120 frame per second comes in, because look at that first Transformer movie and people were like, this is awesome, but I can't tell what the hell's going on because it's just a mishmash. You are seeing every detail. Again, the fight sequences, they're flying down the road in these these mopeds and these motorcycles, and you are just the like I said, the level of detail is just incredible.
And there's one particular shot where the camera is following Will Smith on this moped.
Yeah, and you feel like you're like right down his back.
After alley, and it doesn't seem the camera's cutting
away. There's no
No.
cut. Yep. Yeah, so very, very impressive in that regard. But yeah, this plays out like a Marvel 2-in-1.
It's
the superheroes get together, they fight, they have a misunderstanding, and all of a sudden a bigger threat arrives, and they now must
have to
join
team
forces.
up.
They join
Yep.
forces.
So there's 3 fight sequences, right? So there's the moped scene. There's a scene in the catacombs when they first plant the seed in Junior's head that something is off here.
You're just trying to rattle me. I'm trying to save you. What are you, 23?
Right.
Because Junior, and he even calls him a dummy at one point. The older Will Smith calls the younger Will Smith a dummy. It's like, look at me. You can't figure this out? It's like, you are
He goes,
me.
I don't want to look like you when I get that old.
So in the catacombs fight sequence, they plant the seed that something is off.
He told you were an orphan. And of all the people in the world to come after me, why would he send you? Because I'm the best. You are obviously not the best.
And at the end, that's when the younger Will Smith turns sides and joins with the older Will Smith to take on Clive Owen.
And meanwhile,
this
organization is just trying to kill Henry throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
And we're jumping. We're going. That's where Benedict Wong's character Baron steps in.
At the very end, when it's revealed that there's other clones of Will Smith, are we to assume that it's not just the one? Are all those guys that are after him all Will Smith clones?
They would.
One?
No, I don't. I think it was just a one.
Okay.
So, but I actually put it in my notes. I called it halfway through the movie that the 2 Smiths would have to team up together to fight a third.
Yeah, because they.
But I thought it would be like an older version, like you'd find out that Henry was also a clone, but he wasn't the first.
Whoever these other Gemini soldiers are, they are pretty much super soldiers in the same vein as Junior, at least, because they all have their stealth gear and they're all black. And one guy has what looks like Old Painless from Predator, this heavy-duty machine gun, and he's got like a Jason hockey mask on.
Oh, I thought he was more like the guy from Road Warrior.
The humongous, right?
Humongous, yep. That's exactly what he looked like.
Just walk away. I will give you safe passage in Wasteland. Just walk away, and there will be an end to the horror.
I spare you lives. Just walk away.
But again, the action, you're right, the action sequences are pretty well done.
So the humongous has this heavy-duty machine gun, and he's just shooting the hell out of this convenience store.
Right.
Where Danny...
Because there's nothing more exciting than watching Doritos getting blown.
Yeah, all you see in slow motion are Doritos, Tostitos, smart popcorn.
No, not the Twinkies.
It is probably the most obvious product placement.
Brought to you by Pepsi. So yeah, it's not revolutionary in its content.
But if you go along with it, you'll enjoy yourself.
Yes,
I think. Yeah.
I think. People in my theater clapped, but I think they were just happy it was finally over.
Now, I also want to give a shout out to a Russian informant at one point that Will Smith meets, and his name is Yuri. I think they meet in a bathhouse because they're in.
Oh yes,
robes,
you're right. Yep.
And this guy is just channeling Yakov Smirnoff. Because he's just like cracking jokes. Are you upset that your own government is trying to kill you? In Russia, we call that Tuesday.
What a country. America, I love it.
Yeah, I don't want to spend too much more time on Gemini Man. It was serviceable. It was an enjoyable evening out.
Yep.
And I didn't have the issues with my movie starting on time. So
no, but it was for me, it was a happy accident because to be able to talk about this real 3D is pretty impressive, which almost makes you a little excited for the new avatars if and when they ever come out, because no one's really clamoring for them. But other than that, it's really lipstick on a pig. I mean, I hate to say it.
Now, in terms of buckets, I, again, was very pleasantly surprised by Gemini Man. Again, that's really how you have to go into most movies, but sometimes it's impossible to have no expectations.
Right.
So judging from that and that I was entertained, I think I would give it 3 buckets. Solid.
I'm giving it a solid 3 buckets, but if you see it in 3D, I have to bump that up to at least 4.25 because it really changed.
Over 4 with 3D.
Over 4. It was an experience. Now, again, outside of Life of Pi and Avatar, when's the last time we saw a 3D movie that was immersive? I mean, Avatar was created, like I said, 3/4 of it is cartoon, for lack of a better term. They're not real characters. The environment's not real. So it took on that super, super hyper quality to begin with. But this is real world action. and I've never seen anything like it. And I loved it in 3D.
So it's a pity, though, that, as you said, you can't get 3D TVs anymore. So this experience is only in the movie theater these days.
Yeah.
Gemini Man is still in theaters as you're listening to this on Jeff's recommendation.
Yes.
You better go out and see it.
See it the way it was shot.
So as we move away from Will Smith
Bye-bye.
and his progeny, we are moving into another doubles movie. They could so Will Smith and Will Smith could go against Danny DeVito and Arnold in a tennis doubles match any day.
There you go.
So, but before we move into
Double
twins,
love.
before we move into twins, let's go to the concession stand, watch a trailer, and we'll be right back.
Cool.
Hurry, 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 folks. Get your crunchy, chewy, chocolatey candy bars now at the concession stand. Make your selection from the largest assortment ever gathered together under one roof. So hurry, hurry, hurry before the big show begins. Treat yourself, treat yourself? Brother, am I a salesman?
In a secret lab, somewhere in the Western Hemisphere, the perfect human specimen has been born. He has the strength of 10 men and the wisdom of 20. He also has a twin brother.
I have a brother?
Oh my goodness, are you looking good?
Arnold Schwarzenegger
Born to be bad.
and Danny DeVito
Way to go, Mom.
are twins.
Obviously. The moment I sat down, I thought I was looking into a mirror.
Only their mother can tell them apart.
Whoa.
Twins, the new comedy from Ivan Reitman.
Julius. What? Are you allergic to something? You're all swelled up. You look like you're ready to explode. I love it when you hit people. Who are you?
Vincent's brother.
We're twins.
That's right.
Twins, coming this Christmas.
We, again, as we revealed at the onset of this episode, we didn't go too far into our thinking on what our classic was going to be. Hey, Gemini Man, it's Will Smith and Will Smith. Let's go to the most obvious thing that we can think of.
Twins.
Twins with Arnold and Danny DeVito.
We could, like I said, we could have gone Face Off, which would have been an interesting kind of take. And the only other thing I thought of, which was the poster for Gemini Man, is just straight up a ripoff of Enemy Mine.
Oh, yeah.
Where you just got the two faces facing off.
Yep.
I'm like,
yeah. So Twins, 1988.
88.
End of the 80s. Now, Arnold was in his heyday at this point.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to describe how huge, literally and figuratively, Arnold was in the 80s. For kids of a certain age, Arnold was the man. He was the action hero of note. Sylvester Stallone, and then later on you got Steven Seagal and Claude Van Damme. They were second banana, definitely, to the king, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Whenever a new Arnold movie came out, with the possible exception of Red Heat, it was like appointment cinema. You had to go and see an Arnold movie. And this is starting with Conan the Barbarian, which was R, so not a lot of kids that were our age were able to see that until it. But soon after that, you got Conan the Destroyer, which was a PG movie. The Terminator, of course. Commando, Predator, hit after hit after hit.
So here I am thinking we're 80 episodes in, and this is the first time we're talking about a Schwarzenegger movie, and it happens to be twins. But we did talk about Predator.
We did. We also talked about Total Recall.
Oh, that's right, Total Recall. Yeah. Okay,
but we
so
didn't
it's a
really
third.
talk in depth about Arnold himself. He was almost like a folk hero to kids back in the 80s.
Oh, hell yeah. Well, just his rise.
You were judged on your Arnold impersonation.
Yes.
How good of an Arnold?
No, dude, he doesn't sound anything like that.
And you'd go to these movies waiting for those one-liners. Like, what is he going to say? Because
that's just it. How many? I want to go back and count how many times in different movies he actually used "I'll be back," because that was the most iconic coming out of Terminator.
Of course.
Of course, he makes it here.
He says it here, yeah. So this was the first time he stepped into comedy. This was pre-Kindergarten Cop. So this was the first. It's
not the tumor.
It is not the tumor. Look at my ferret. This was a huge runaway hit movie. 18 million it cost to make this. It made 216 million at the box office.
Do you know that he took 20% of the profit?
Yes, him and Danny DeVito.
He made more money off this than any of the Terminator movies.
Any other movie, period.
Yeah, that's crazy. Because I guess they didn't really have a lot in their budget. And from what I understand, they had the choice. The two of them could either pick this movie or Suburban Commando. I don't remember that being a buddy movie.
Suburban Commando?
Yeah, Hulk Hogan and Christopher Lloyd would have swapped places with them, and they would have played the twins.
Oh no!
Yeah, so it was like, oh, we got these two movies in development. Which one you want to work on? And I guess once Arnold Schwarzenegger found out that Danny DeVito was already cast, he was like, I'm in. Brilliant.
So when was Ivan Reitman slated to direct this? Because he was another big part of it.
He was a big part of it. I don't know when he was attached. I barely remember this. I probably watched it once when it came out on VHS we rented it from Blockbuster. And my DVD looked like it came from Blockbuster. The transfer quality on this was horrible. It was so grainy. There was no widescreen whatsoever. It was still formatted to fit my analog television.
The viewing quality of this is probably as good as the plot of the movie and hangs together just about as good. You know, a one-horse town, a one-joke movie, and it bleeds that joke dry throughout the hour and 40 minutes or whatever it is.
But they do have nice chemistry together. I thought they were fun to watch. It's silly. It's a silly movie. But right off the bat, you find out he's a lab experiment, and you're like, oh, look, okay, that ties directly into Gemini Man.
They both are. It's almost kind of like making Captain America again. So these six
I want to know how 6 different men their sperm can all penetrate and impregnate one egg.
So apparently, as Danny DeVito puts it, these scientists are making a sperm milkshake to make So all these outstanding men, scientists and physical specimens and geniuses, they all create
Schwarzenegger's a genius. He's like a 12 language. He's raised on this island. He can speak 12 languages. Like he's a genius, which is funny that he's playing this.
Take out your papers and your trash, or you don't get no spending cash. If you don't scrub the kitchen floor, you ain't gonna rock and roll no more. Yakety yak, yakety yak. Don't talk back.
So they're separated at birth, and they say that the Arnold half of these twins got all the good genes.
Right, DeVito got the leftover crap.
So they shipped him off to an orphanage, and he later escaped by seducing a nun at the orphanage.
He's kind of a dubious character.
So he owes money to all these shady underground criminal type characters, and he's in jail as the movie opens. So Arnold, his name is Julius.
I'm going to find my brother Vincent.
So his character finds out he's got a brother from the kindly scientist that is raising him on this island paradise.
Right.
So then Arnold packs his bag and goes to find him. And he's expecting to find somebody that looks like him.
Can we just bring up the fact that he rode 27 miles to the nearest island to get onto an airport?
Via rowboat, yes.
Right.
And he finds out that he's in jail, so he goes to visit him, and that's where the joke just begins, where they first have that meet cute in the jail cell.
In prison,
Yeah.
Huh? Come again?
My name is Julius, and I'm your twin brother.
Oh, obviously. The moment I sat down, I thought I was looking into a mirror.
I did like the way he rocked that jacket with the high socks and the Converse.
Yes, he did.
In the shorts.
Yes, he did.
It's like those calves are just like ridiculous.
The plot kind of forcibly moves it towards this jet engine prototype subplot where Danny DeVito, who sells stolen cars, which are provided to him by David Caruso.
What happened to that guy?
So it turns out that one of these stolen cars has this jet engine prototype this billionaire wants to buy for $5 million. So Danny DeVito has to deliver it. On their way to delivering this, that's when they try to find who their mother is. So it's like a road trip movie.
Right, because they were both told that their mother had died. Yeah, which is funny because the movie poster actually says only their mother can tell them apart. But through 3/4 of the movie, we were told that she died of childbirth. So that's pretty messed up. There was a cute little, when he first arrives in L.A., there's a cute little Sylvester Stallone Rambo call out where he sees him up on the wall. He compares his arms to his poster and he just kind of shakes him off.
Now, apart from My Name is Julius, that is the only scene that I remember from when watching this movie.
Oh, really?
In the theater, because that got such a huge laugh when he passed.
Yeah, because again,
Sylvester
Rambo
Stallone.
was, the two of them were pretty, yeah. Now, Danny DeVito never ages.
No.
It's unbelievable. This guy has got some tap into the fountain of youth.
So you have, this is back in the 80s. He obviously looks older now, but back in the 80s, you really had no concept of how old this guy was, because Taxi was like 10 years before.
Right.
And there's no difference in his appearance between, they could sell this as them being the same age, because as you said, you don't know how old Danny DeVito is.
Right.
And let me just mention the seduction scene.
Oh, man. Oh, so yeah, we didn't talk about Kelly Preston. Wow.
Oh, I baked you some cookies.
Cookies?
I guess it was a dumb idea.
No, not at all. I'm really looking forward to tossing them.
Because for all of Arnold's, this character, Julius, is a super genius, but he has like no street smarts whatsoever. So this girl is just freaking jonesing on him, and she makes her way into his bedroom. And he just doesn't know what to do with it. And there's a scene right where she's literally on her hands and knees with her ass in the air. I need to be alone for a minute.
Turning the other cheek, both of her cheeks. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Money.
Wowza.
So again, like Gemini Man, this is serviceable. And one of the reviews that I read online from 1988, this offers a few modest pleasures for the undemanding viewer.
For the undemanding viewer. Well, there you go. That's pretty much it.
That is pretty much it.
At one point, I realized that we're watching Mr. Freeze and Penguin.
Yes.
Together.
Who wants to be bad? Yes, we are. Ooh, it's so scary.
You are right.
All right, there you go.
A sequel has been in the works recently.
Yeah, I have this in my notes.
2012 is when this first came up. They are planning, and it's still, being thought of seriously with Schwarzenegger and DeVito. It's going to be called Triplets, and they're going to introduce Eddie Murphy
as the third sibling. Because we only met two of the dads. I mean, you see them in flashbacks. Now, I read somewhere that Heather Graham played the young mom in the intro flashback, but I didn't see that anywhere else, so I don't know if that was true. And I didn't go back to watch it. She would have been like 7.
No, because she was in Drugstore Cowboy. That was her first movie the following year. That was her first big movie.
Okay, gotcha.
So it's possible. It could have been her.
All right. The soundtrack sounded like straight up Bruce Hornsby was just hanging on set. But beyond the sequel, Jason Momoa wants to remake this with Peter Dinklage.
Really?
Which is kind of... But again, what are you going to do? You're just going to rehash all the same jokes.
No, the charm of this, though, is Arnold himself trying to deliver those lines with that accent.
No, they were both in their prime, and it works. Because he was also, DeVito in 84 was Romancing the Stone.
Yes,
so
he was.
So he plays those kind of scummy characters.
Yeah.
I mean, if you watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, his character is despicable. But I love the fact that he ends up with a suitcase of $5 million. And if you catch it at the end, Julius makes him return it.
But that's the thing. Who do they return it to?
Who do they return it to? Right. The guy
billionaire's dead.
Yes, right. Who do you return it to? And he goes, oh, yes, the $4 million. So obviously it doesn't take much to realize that he stole $1 million.
Out of the suitcase, yeah.
But apparently $4 million weighs about 110 pounds. So the idea of him dragging around that suitcase is not really viable. I did like the fact that at the end the mother comes back, and because they do meet her, but she doesn't tell them who she is. And then she sees on the news and she realizes that they are who they claim to be. And Danny DeVito goes, and you just see it on his face. And my wife actually started crying. I'm like, are you kidding me? And he goes, Mama. And I said, doesn't he throw her from the train the year before? So it was a nice little heartfelt reunion, and they finally get reunited with their mom. And then you see that they have twins at the end. Doesn't twins skip a generation?
It's supposed to, yeah.
Right? But they both had twins.
They both had twins.
They both married the girls that we met up with. And
then after that, they were destined to be rerun on TNT ad infinitum for the rest of history.
It's So silly.
So if I were willing to give Gemini Man 3 buckets. I didn't enjoy this as much as I did.
2.5.
Yeah, 2.5.
That's right. That's
where I'm
exactly
going.
where I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't hold up very well. And the transfer, again, maybe if somebody had taken the time and the care to actually put it on Blu-ray and clean it up.
Yeah, as good as DeVito and Schwarzenegger are in this, if you're looking for a fix of Arnold in his comedic heyday, go to Kindergarten Cop. Don't go to this.
Yeah, 2.5. Sorry,
so
guys.
That leads into our
Confessionals.
So again, we didn't take much of a stretch here.
No.
So
sometimes we just got to go with the obvious.
For lack of anything else, we decided to ask ourselves our favorite cinematic siblings. So
you know who I chose? I went right for Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I didn't. If you don't say Luke and Leia from
I said Luke and Leia.
Oh, you
That's
did?
exactly where I went. For the win, right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing, which was we were teased with the idea that they were siblings. And so after Jedi, like all you really wanted to see, I mean, we got it in The Last Jedi with Rey and Kylo fighting side by side, especially in that Snoke's throne room scene.
Yeah.
To see Luke and Leia in their prime fighting side by side with lightsabers, that would have been a kid's dream come true. Right? To see her be a badass Jedi. You get to see her friggin' save herself when she floats out into space, Mary Poppins style. And that was it. She's Mary Poppins, y'all.
Now, it's funny you should bring that line up because my choice from
I know
Guardians
you're
of the
going.
Galaxy. I'm going
Nice.
Nebula and Gamora.
Nice.
Just as a recent choice because I love the relationship, the push and pull, how they start as adversaries in the Guardian movies and then Nebula turns around and they're
in that Marvel universe within, like, she does have one of the broader character arcs that brings her kind of back around because she was just a straight up bad guy. She hated her sister, hated her father. That's a good call.
I considered
like
Wonder Twins for a second.
Okay,
but didn't really go there.
With Gleep.
Yes.
Gleep?
With Gleep. Now, were the Three Stooges considered siblings? Or were they just losers?
That's a good question. That is a good question. Because they had different names every episode. They weren't always the same characters. So, certainly.
So there you have it. So next week we are celebrating Halloween. We are revisiting our 5 bucket series, and we are pulling out all the stops on this one. We decided to go a little bit scarier for the month of October. So we are going to induct into the 5 bucket list James Cameron's 1986 Aliens.
This is so worthy of 5 bucket. If we could go 6 buckets, I'd go 6 buckets on this. Every single part of this movie is firing on all cylinders. It is, yeah. There you go.
Gemini Man. Our first official episode as a duo that we cover these
twins.
Yeah. Twins.
People say we're starting to look alike. Henry and Junior. Yeah. Luke and Leia. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll be back next week. All right. Ciao.
What a country! America, I love it!
You're a very stupid person.